What up? I'm back. You couldn't get rid of me that easily. So we're trying some different things here. Heard on the last one that the echo was a little hard to decipher. Hopefully this one's a little bit of an easier listen. I'm glad to have you back. And without further ado, let's get right into it. A couple weeks ago, I spent the first weekend of April watching the 39th edition of WrestleMania. The first WrestleMania I watched was 24 back in 2008, and the show itself has existed since 1985. It's crazy. So during the event, I go on Twitter and I see a tweet about a remake of the Lord of the Rings franchise. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, let's see what we can do with that, especially since the first one took place in 2002. Crazy, right? After the event, I decided to hop on my PlayStation, and I sat there and decided between Battlefield 2042 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That's a decision I'm very familiar with, even since the days of 2011, back when I would decide between Battlefield 3 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3? Okay. Either at this point, we've completely run out of new marketable ideas, or we're in a time loop. I'm honestly having trouble deciding which one is more valid. So look, today's video, I'm examining a few franchises to see where they stand, how long they've been going, and if they're running on nostalgia life support at this point. To start off the video, let's see. I have a criticism of modern society, and I need something that's universally understandable, but also divisive and polarizing enough to get my point across. Yes, sir. You know them. You love them. Maybe. It's Marvel. A good place to start with this autopsy? I don't know. A good place to start would probably be with the first film that I remember to put my butt in the seat solely off of just nostalgia alone. And that film is, of course, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Incredible theater experience? Absolutely. I did not shut up about that movie for 2 weeks afterwards. Great movie. It's not a bad movie by any means, but it's definitely carried by movies from the past that weren't even in the same multiverse up until this movie.
My favorite thing about the movie is it feels like a movie.
You can argue that Spider-Man still has some exciting stories that can be told on the big screen. Spider-Man stories in the comics, though, are a bit of a different story. Oh my god! Honestly, you can even argue that the comics industry as a whole is on nostalgic life support. Back to the movies, though, I do believe the MCU is on nostalgia life support, unfortunately. So hear me out. The MCU used to bank on the nostalgia of these comic book characters, and people would come into the movies themselves just to see how these characters would be portrayed on the big screen. By the time you get to Infinity War and Endgame, general audiences kind of understand now that the films are separate from the comic books, and what you're seeing on the screen is not a one-to-one recreation of what's in the comics. We're now at the beginning of Phase 5, though, and we're starting to see the Young Avengers become a focal point. We're supposed to be ending this phase with the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. For those of you who don't know, Secret Wars was an arc in the comic books where Doctor Doom essentially creates a planet and says, fight for my entertainment, and they do. So with us very much heading towards Secret Wars, it kind of begs the question, are we really banking the success of Secret Wars on the return of the Wave 1 Avengers? Because that seems kind of risky to me. Oh well. It could be worse, I guess. Disney. Strap in. Disney themselves apparently can't go a year without a photorealistic retelling of an animated story.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
What about Pixar? Well, Pixar has been going really hard on the sequels after they broke their no sequel rule with Cars 2. And Star Wars is Star Wars. I think with all of that said, it is extremely obvious that... Oh, okay. Hang on just a second. Okay, wow. Just like this? Yeah? Okay. Disney is not on nostalgia life support. Disney does not need nostalgia life support. Disney is proud to continue providing quality entertainment for the whole family. DC Comics! To be fair, they did try to do their own thing for as long as possible. Films like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, Joker, and The Batman showed that DC doesn't have to necessarily model themselves after Marvel to be successful. It seemed like we were heading towards a direction of individual DC movies that also were in a connected universe, but they just couldn't go one-on-one with the Great One, could they? The Rock wanted to be a superhero. He got cast as Black Adam. Rock said, That don't work for The Rock. Black Adam became its own thing, and now they're scrambling, and oh, we gotta make the 80s Batman canon now. All in all though, I don't think that DC is on nostalgia life support. The thing with comic book movies is that there's always ways to reinvent a character. I think DC and comic book movies in general just need to get past making a whole ass movie for a character's origin. I'm not trying to sound jaded, but Blue Beetle better kick ass. Because I don't know if we're getting a Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes movie. Actually, hang on. Okay, at Marvel, are we gonna talk or what? Hashtag Ghost Rider. Okay, seems simple enough. Oh, what's that? There's already a Ghost Rider? Oh, he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right. You know, I'm all for Latinos and Latinas getting high-paying work in the industry, but it should have been me. It should have been me. I'm kidding. Anyways, despite popular belief, not all blockbusters are comic book movies. They're just based on existing properties is all. In 2023 alone, we have sequels, remakes, and or reboots of The Hunger Games, Willy Wonka, Little Mermaid, Evil Dead, Haunted Mansion, Peter Pan, Transformers, Indiana Jones, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the 10th installation of the Fast and Furious franchise. This isn't designed to be a reboot bad video. It is proven that this is what gets people to come to the theaters. Even distributors like A24 have capitalized on this phenomena by focusing strictly on small-scale, grounded in reality stories to astounding critical and financial success. So there definitely is an audience for a more traditional movie-going experience. The same cannot be said about the industry, though. Once upon a time, in Hollywood, people would have an Infinity War level hype train for Jaws and Jurassic Park. They're not bad movies, but they really did set the precedent for what the American blockbuster would be in the decades to come. Now look at them. Jaws has been dead for like 40 years, and Jurassic Park is really trying to get the Jurassic Cinematic Universe to pop off. Actually, yeah, Jurassic Park, you're on nostalgia life support, and it's all Chris Pratt's fault. You know what else is his fault? Super Mario! Yes sir, star of the hit game Hotel Mario.
You know what they say, all toasters toast toast.
What the hell is even that?
The Italian plumber has existed since 1981 and is about to make his jump onto the big screen, and he's portrayed by the Grim Reaper himself. So Mario exists on an entirely different plane altogether from everyone else. Being the first of anything gets you special nostalgia privileges, mainly the fact that people kind of expect you to stay the same since you were such an important part of either their personal history or just history in general. Oh no, who let the mascots in again? Look at them! Sonic figured out how to clone himself. Crash Bandicoot's hallucinating about God knows what. And Bubsy's unresponsive. To be fair, these are all characters from platform games back in the 90s. But look, no one stays young forever. What about the games that we grew up with, huh? And by we, I mean me. What about the games that me grew up with, huh? Call of Duty. Critical condition. Absolutely on nostalgia life support. We're reusing maps, we're reusing guns, we're reusing characters, we're reusing names at this point. Modern Warfare 3 is coming out. I can't wait to fight Makarov. Again, like, who knows? They might even bring back Dome this time. They brought back Dome. God! Battlefield. This one's had at least like 3 times of death listed for it already, and yet for some reason, it just keeps bouncing back apparently. Most people either think of Battlefield like this, or they think of it like this. I, however, a man of taste and culture, remember my Battlefield days like this.
Run! Fucking run!
That last one is like pure serotonin for me. So imagine my excitement when I see this. And this. And this. All in the trailer for Battlefield 2042. I was so excited for this game, dude. I, like a fool, pre-ordered that game because I thought it would be worth it. What did I get? It seems like EA got nostalgic for the launch of Battlefield 4 and 5, and now 2042. How you can't keep getting away with this? A year ago, I would have said Battlefield dead. It really did look like the franchise was in the ground. Yet somehow DICE strolled up in here and provided some weird new age holistic medicine called listening to your fans, and now the franchise is fine again. It's up, it feels like it's normal, and it's teabagging Call of Duty. Never change. Get your shit together, DICE. Grand Theft Auto. It's not looking too good for this one. The definitive trilogy, which had GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, turned out to not be really definitive at all. GTA 4, it's over 15 years old at this point. This franchise is definitely supposed to be on Nostalgia Life support. I don't think we administered it correctly, though. Between you and me, the patient is trying to garner nostalgia for GTA 5, which is the most recent entry in the series. It confused me too. It's kind of sad, honestly. There's a few specific franchises. What about genres? How are they doing? Racing games. Critical condition. The racing game community is dying. Please like and share this video if you are a true racist, and together we will stand strong. Let's take the top 3 racing game franchises, for example. Forza Horizon pissed off their fan base by removing and then re-adding cars from previous games as DLC. Gran Turismo pissed off their fan base by having progression that feels too close to real life in that I cannot afford any of the cars. Oh, and Need for Speed. Need for Speed pissed off their fan base by not being able to turn time back to 2005. I liked Nine Thou as much as everyone else. I liked Switchback. I liked all of those songs. But no amount of Chad versus Virgin meme compilations is going to make EA put Disturbed back in the sound rotation. It's just not going to happen, dude. Sports games. Oh, sports games. They aren't even running on Nostalgia Life support anymore. It's literally just memories of couch multiplayer. Ugh, I know, it felt old just saying that. Nowadays, we get to see things like card opening games, game modes that are aimed specifically at recreating older eras, and yearly release schedules that allow for these studios to have incremental updates in each game, basically just adding on a little bit more, taking a little bit here and there to create what appears like a brand new entry. Which means that the literal source code of the game that you played in your childhood is probably still up there in the game somewhere, just behind all the paywalls. Oh, and back on the wrestling topic for a little bit. Wrestling games are especially guilty of this. In their defense, though, the wrestling game community is not an easy one to please. Even this year, the WWE 2K community got ranked as one of the most negative fan bases online. Keep in mind, this isn't the WWE community here that we're talking about. We're talking about the 2K community, as in just the fans of the games. This has been ongoing for as long as I can remember. During the SmackDown vs. Raw series, fans were begging to return to the glory days of No Mercy. After that, no WWE 2K game could even compare to SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Now we have WWE 2K23. And fans are once again asking for a return to form to a classic in the series, WWE 2K19.
Fickle! They're fickle!
Wrestling games are on Nostalgia Life support, but I really don't think they have a choice anymore. Moving on from games to TV, I think a great segue would be to go from WWE games to WWE in itself. WWE and the wrestling industry as a whole doesn't need Nostalgia Life support. Thing is, though, they brought their own doctor, said that they need it for appearances and stuff, and now they come back and take huffs here and there. What are you gonna do? Segway! Nickelodeon. They seemed to be fine before the 2010s, and then before you know it, they got wrapped up in the 90s kid hype train. And now that they've drained that well dry, they're in a little bit of a pickle. Franchises that kids my age grew up with, like Danny Phantom, Jimmy Neutron, Avatar: Last Airbender, those series are all long gone at this point. I truly believe Nickelodeon would be in the ground if it weren't for a certain sponge whose memorable moments became a secondary language for kids my age, albeit if they were allowed to watch it. What else do you do but devote your channel to airing reruns of that show while also investing in games, movies, and 2 spin-off series? 2? Right now. 2 spin-off series.
We're in the midst of two.
Spin-off series.
Hold it, what?
Nickelodeon has been administered extra strength Nostalgia Life support because they are slurping it right up. And last, but certainly not least, we cannot discuss 90s kids, or endless reruns for that matter, without MTV. MTV would become a counterculture staple of the 80s. It was the premier spot to find music that wasn't just playing out on the radio already. By the time that the 90s roll around, though, we see a transition from MTV being the counterculture center to being the establishment needing to be questioned themselves. And they were, thanks to the grunge scene at the time. With the dawn of reality TV, the 80s kids who grew up with MTV, they suddenly noticed that the new MTV is not like how they remember it, and that's where we end up with calls for bringing back the music to MTV, and, you know, that one Bowling for Soup song. MTV, though, doubled down on the reality TV approach, and with that, they invested a ton of money into shows like Jersey Shore, 16 and Pregnant, and Ridiculousness, which is a clip show hosted by skateboarder and entrepreneur Rob Dyrdek. And the plan worked? I mean, it kind of did. They just weren't really prepared for what to do with it after. Today, we have reality programs all around us. Music is the most easily accessible that it has been, and Jersey Shore has already had spin-offs and a reunion show. You're MTV, what do you do now? I'll tell you what to do. You acquire RuPaul's Drag Race, you put some quirky and relatable bumpers in between all of the shows, and you pray to our Lord and Savior, Rob Dyrdek, that Ridiculousness can carry this channel until the end of time. MTV is not running on Nostalgia Life support. MTV is Nostalgia Life support. That's right. It's been in here all along. And you know what that means? If it has been here, then he has been here. For some final words, reboots are bad unless I make them. And so without further ado, I present to you my pitch. This summer, prepare to go on a wild ride. Again! It's your favorite wacky scientist and middle school teenager going back in time in their Tesla Cybertruck, starring Joe Keery as Marty McFly, Danny DeVito as Doc Brown, and Topher Grace for the role of Biff, or Chris Pratt, however you see Biff. Get ready to go 88 miles per hour again, because we're going back to the future. 2023. It's so good, we're not even gonna subtitle it. Thanks for coming. We'll see you on the next one. Stay sexy, stay safe. And I'm your papi. Oh, I'm dying. I need Nostalgia Life support. Oh.